Hello, welcome to Movie Musters. Power Book 3, Raising Kanan Season 4 Episode 9 leaves us headed for a bloodbath that may have been Power Book 3, Raising Kanan's best hour, that may have been one of the best hours in the whole damn Power universe. And we still have one more hour to go this season. As we approach the end of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan Season 4, 10 different storylines are in motion, and that's how Power has continuously operated. Various characters and story arcs are being juggled, and at a certain point, many of them start to merge, which we are starting to see here. This was the first hour we saw Kanan and Unique interact, the number one Raq haters, and Stefano turn on Raq, and Lulu make a decision about his future. Putting us in such an exciting and terrifying place as we head into the finale. I would be shocked if we leave this season with all our main characters intact, which is not something I truly believed heading into past finales. Maybe there was the threat of a death or two, but considering we know Kanan and Jukebox make it into adulthood and the crux of the entire series is the relationship between Raq and Kanan, it did lessen some of the fear around that big death, but I'm worried now. And I'm most worried about Marvin. Marvin has made huge strides throughout the series to become a better version of himself. He's still a killer with anger issues, but in his line of work, he's been a reliable soldier and someone Raq can depend on and trust. However, things have not gone his way this season, starting with lying to Raq about his side dealings with Stefano. If you want to say he withheld the information instead of outright lying to her, then so be it. Still, when Raq found out about his little side hustle, it put the spark of doubt into her head, and now Stefano has planted a whole damn garden, since he realized Marvin wasn't the fighter he wanted to back. The second Marvin brought early into the sports betting game, and Stefano gave him that warning, you knew it would come back to bite in some way. No, Marvin didn't pull the trigger in this instance, but Early was his guy, thus, everything he touched fell on Marvin. Taunting Early was obviously the wrong move for Marvin, but it was pretty ballsy of him to go right to Stefano and snitch. He probably figured it was his only play since Marvin has no issues cleaning up his messes with bullets. Stefano's decision to turn on Marvin and lie to Raq was certainly a choice, especially considering how skeptical and downright indignant he's been about her all season. Once he realized he could never back Marvin, he decided to try to put a wedge between brother and sister because he still wanted a piece of the action. And now we wait to see if it worked or not. I can't imagine Raq falling for it, but she's also at a weird place because she needs Stefano, right? She went to him because she needed him, but that conversation about Marvin, followed up directly by Lulu declaring himself a dragon slayer, had her going to Unique, leading me to believe she thinks her best path forward is not with Stefano. Let's get into the Lulu of it all because, to be honest, I didn't see things going this way, but only because Lulu seemed so lost toward the end of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan Season 3. While he placed a lot of blame outward, it seemed that when he got to the crux of his inner struggles, he was mad and disappointed in himself. That still rings true if you believe what he told Raq, but he was disappointed in himself, not because his actions were wrong, but because they were wrong and he liked it. He liked the power and control that the life gave him. The power and the control that the streets gave him. But that scared him, probably because that's not normal behavior, right? T's not normal or socially acceptable to take pleasure in playing God that way he has, so he found himself in a downward cycle as he tried to parse through all the complex emotions. Now that he's sobered up and taken the time to look himself in the mirror, maybe for the first time, without prejudice or judgment, he was willing to accept certain things about himself. He was willing to admit that he was running from himself, and murdering for Birilla clearly gave him his lick back. Why dancing with the stars? Raq's skepticism was correct, and she would do well to not blindly believe Lulu when she watched him struggle so much. But his epiphany comes at such a pivotal point for Raq with Marvin on the outs, Kanan on her ass, and her need for a big win if she wants any chance of staying in the game. The decision to see Unique must be rooted in her desire to end an impending war, but she's been there and done that with Unique in the past. The key difference now is that he wakes up every morning and prays for Raq's downfall. I'm hard-pressed to believe Unique will give her the time of day because while money, power, and prestige have played a part in his plans, he wants to hurt Raq more than anything. So, even if Raq were to make the most compelling argument in the entire world as to why they should kill their beef and find a way to coexist, this version of Unique would never be able to see it. There is no way I see this season ending with Raq and Unique anywhere close to being on the same page, even if it meant it was the only way for both of them to survive. Speaking of survival, Kanan had snaps and Pop shook, because they just went through an awful lot of trouble to cover their tracks regarding the fact that they were the ones who killed Famous. Kanan has proven himself on many occasions to be a force, but these grown people running around kidnapping and killing teenagers will never not be a whole entire mess. The second Krystal apologized to Jukebox, I should have realized she was a goner. While there was no love lost for Krystal as far as I was concerned, she was perhaps one of the people who really did seem to care for Kanan without any strings attached. She was also the one person who saw through Kanan completely, called him out on it, and still stuck around to care for him in a healthy manner. She loved him, and while Kanan wasn't as demonstrative, he cared for her. Snaps and Pop have been planting anti-Raq seeds in Kanan for so long that I'm not sure why they need Kyrstal to just turn things around on Raq. Sure, it helped that they knew Kanan was already suspicious of his mother, but Kyrstal's disappearance and death will set off alarms for him. Will he blame that on Raq as well? Or will he take a second to think things through and look at the situation from every angle? Adult Kanan was reactive, but he was also incredibly smart. He was always a few steps ahead of everyone, with his biggest downfall being his obsession with Ghost and putting any trust into Tariq, but Kid Kanan hasn't yet learned how to think beyond his anger. He's so angry with Raq that his pain and hatred sometimes prevent him from seeing beyond it. I worry that even though it doesn't make sense for Raq to have killed Famous, he'll blindly believe the information because of his pain and hatred. All the many stories converging now set us up for what should be one killer and deadly finale, and that scares the hell out of me. Everything else you need to know considering how often people die, one would think Raq would have advised David to lie low. Did she think there would be zero retaliation for killing Chuan? We've been watching Jukebox's transformation all season, and seeing her go to Garcia for help may have been the first step in getting Jukebox into the academy one day. Lamar Jackson killing David took me out. Raq has had enough of Kanan, and I get it on a fundamental level. But she still acts like someone who vaguely recognizes their wrongs but not enough where it actually feels like they feel any remorse whatsoever. Were Lulu and Imani even properly dating? It felt like they were just hooking up, so her breaking up with him was very anticlimactic. When things inevitably go awry in the finale, I fully expect Birilla to show up at Lulu's behest. Marvin killing Amber's foster parents was extremely random, but perhaps that was Marvin's last final good act for the little girl. 1 hour left, people. Ring the alarm. What do you think will happen in the final hour? Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.